orange on this map.
And let's take a live look now from our Skycam in Lincoln City. You can see some waves, some white caps there, but the waves are expected to hit here in just about 45 minutes. At least that's what we're anticipating. And while we're not expecting any large waves, officials still want people far from the beach.
And Hawaii has already seen the first of the expected tsunami waves. This is a live look from Waikiki Beach in Honolulu. We will have more on what people are seeing there just ahead.
But first, we have live team coverage from the Oregon coast. Alma McCarty is in Lincoln City for us, and Catherine Cook is in Cannon Beach.
Let's start with Chief Meteorologist Matt Safina with more on the timing of this tsunami threat along our coastal area and what we can expect. Matt?
Hey, Stephanie, thanks very much. As you mentioned, this all emanates from that large earthquake that hit off the Kamchatka Peninsula earlier today, 4:24 our time, now upgraded to an 8.8. As you mentioned, one of the top 10 biggest earthquakes ever measured on record. For our coast, we're under a tsunami advisory, and it says until Friday. Basically, that means until further notice, because there's a lot of energy over the ocean that needs to dissipate before we get the all clear on this. The thing about these waves is you may have heard forecasts, it's only going to be a foot or 2 feet. And while that may be true, these are not like your normal crashing, breaking waves on the Oregon coast or any coast. These are not even like the big 20, 30-foot waves we get with the king tides or something like this. The nature of these waves is completely different. It's more like a surge that comes in and goes out in a series, comes in and goes out. Can be 10 to 20 minutes between those waves. So it really is something of a different nature compared to the big waves we get with wintertime storms. Now, the coast of Northern California, just south of the Oregon border, is under a tsunami warning. That means you have to move to higher ground in those areas because they are expecting larger waves there. That has to do with the bathymetry, the shape of the seafloor there, as opposed to the shape of the seafloor on the Oregon coast. In fact, the tsunami advisories go all the way down to the Mexican border, all of California. So our arrival times look like this. Hasn't really changed. Long Beach, 11:45. Seaside and Newport, about 11:55. Then the southern Oregon coast, around 11:50, a little bit earlier. So basically between 11:45 and 11:55 is when we expect to see the first initial waves hit the Oregon coast. But again, this isn't just one wave. It'll be a series of waves, and it's more like a surge. So while you may think, it's only a foot or two, keep in mind, 3 feet of water can completely knock you off your feet. And they tend to move fast, which is why the water, as it surges inland, which is why it can do so much damage. So that's why this is a concern, even though the forecast of just a foot or two doesn't sound like that big of a deal, right? So just to break this down for you, tsunami watch means stay tuned, be prepared to act, look for more info. We had that earlier. That got upgraded to an advisory for the Oregon coast. That means stay out of the ocean, stay off.
Watch what Gen X do to stop heartburn.
Ay, caramba, increíble. No puede ser. No puede ser.
There has to be a certain amount of acid in your small intestine to keep that.
The beach, but no evacuations are necessary because we're not expecting a big wall of water. But if we get a tsunami warning like in Northern California, that means you have to evacuate to higher ground because the waves will be powerful and they will be big. But for the Oregon and Washington coast, it is a tsunami advisory, again, until further notice. The big one back in 2011 in Hawaii, they didn't get the all clear until the following morning. So it can take a while for all of this energy to dissipate. Now, speaking of Hawaii, they're under tsunami warning, and the first set of waves already reaching that coast. You also got 2 tropical systems, one a Hurricane Iona, the other Tropical Storm Kelly, south of the islands there. Those will be moving away from the islands, but still, they're getting it from all directions now down in our 50th state. Now, we measure the tsunami wave with some deep ocean buoys, and they tell us what's happening without any reflection coming in from nearshore waters like our normal tide gauges. Then that gets fed into the computer models, and that's how tsunamis get forecast. But it's a very complicated process, which is why there's some uncertainty even as we get closer in time to the actual event. But again, right now we're less than an hour away from the first initial tsunami waves reaching the Oregon coast. Ladies?